top 10 projections, I'm guessing. And if we start with the marathon, big on Galen Rupp here. I got to say, you are very confident in one Galen Rupp. Eliud Kipchoge 1, then Rupp 2, Shura Kitata of Ethiopia, Lawrence Cherono, Kenya. Then you have Suguro Osaka of Japan 5, Sise Lema of Ethiopia 6, Desisa 7, Bashir Abdi 8, Amos Kipruto 9, and Osbilan of Turkey the top 10. So I think that's a solid top 10. It's just the order, figuring out who goes where. Again, I think you're pretty high. You're pretty bullish on Galen Rupp, but obviously number one, Eliud Kipchoge. We saw him lose that race in London during 2020, but came back, went to the airport in the Netherlands, literally, and ran a marathon, ran 2:04:30, which looked pretty comfortable for him. Obviously, he's more vulnerable. His 10 marathon streak was snapped. He's more vulnerable than we thought, just based on that London loss. But I don't see any way you could say he's not the favorite in this race.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one. Yeah, the only way Eliud loses is going to be Eliud. It's not going to be someone else outrunning him. It's going to be him having a side stitch or something sick, or I don't know, twist his ankle. It's Kipchoge's race to lose. I do want to. I don't really know what else we need to add to Kipchoge. I mean, his legacy is already set. I think even if he were to finish dead last, we would just look at this performance as an asterisk to his actual career. So there's nothing really he needs to prove or do. I'm sure, obviously, he wants to win, but I think the pressure on the legacy of like, what does this mean or not mean, I feel like is already done. This is just like extra. This is, Shaquille O'Neal on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hey, maybe we win, maybe we don't. I don't know. It's Dwayne Wade coming back to Miami Heat. But the only difference is he's on a team. It's like, it would be like Shaquille O'Neal playing for the Warriors when the Warriors were really good. It's like, hey, you're going to probably win. So, but he's still good. Anyway, okay. I'm trying to make an NBA reference. I love my NBA references.
I think a better one would have been Karl Malone going to the Lakers, except Karl Malone never won a title, so it's kind of tough to find the exact one. Yeah. Okay, so then we'll go to the next person on your rankings, which is Rupp. And the reason why I think you're a little optimistic on Rupp, number one, the rest of the field is obviously really good. Cherono in particular, he won Boston and Chicago in 2019 and was second in Valencia last year and ran 2:03. So he's sharp right now. Desisa's always good. Kitata's been great recently. And Rupp, you look back, and he hasn't run a marathon since the Olympic trials. He's run some 10Ks this year. His last marathon, pre-trials, his last international marathon where he had a field like this was 2018. Finished 5th in Chicago. That was the same year he, ran the fast in Prague, ran his 2:06 there. That was also the year he DNF'd in Boston. So it's been a while since we've seen Rupp in a marathon. And if he's a 2:05, 2:06 guy, even if you say he's a 2:04 guy, there's a lot of people in this field who can run with him at that pace. And I get it. It's going to be a championship race. And Rupp's thrived in those sort of settings before, but it's just been a while since we've seen him in a marathon with a field of this caliber. And he's 35 now.
Yeah, and I agree it's been a while, but I think there's a reason for that. I think he is not trying to use up I think he knows he has limited bullets left in his chamber, and he's trying and he saved them these past year and a half, 2+ years, for just the Olympic trials and the Olympic Games. I mean, it wasn't even close when his like Atlanta performance, while it's only a 2:09, he just looked like he was like just so much better than everyone else. And obviously it's an American, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, he didn't have any sign of like, hey, you're kind of. I think he knew coming off of his injury. When did he get injured? In 20.
That was 19. He didn't race.
19?
2019.
He knew
coming. It was the end of. Yeah. Yeah.
Coming off his injury in 2019, and also the whole Salazar debacle, I think he's realized, hey, I don't need to prove myself anymore in any race moving forward. The only thing I need to do is set myself up to go all in on the most important championship races, and that is qualifying for the Olympics and then the Olympic Games. I think he's just been saving it all up for this moment. I think everything we've seen since 2019 has been in preparation for this one race, and that's the reason he hasn't tried to run a fast time here or there, or did the marathon project. He's done a bunch of shorter stuff. I think he's saving it all up for this one moment, and it's been circled on his calendar for now, 4 years. So
yeah,
that's what
I think that's probably his approach. I think you're probably accurate there. And he's run some fast halves. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be a non-factor here. I absolutely think he's going to be a factor. I just let's compare this to 2016, the last time he was at the Olympics, and he got the medal there. He got the bronze. Did he improve his position at all? Well, Kipchoge is still around, and the gap between him and Kipchoge, I think, is the same, because both of them have shown vulnerabilities since then. So maybe before Kipchoge was a 10 out of 10, and if Rupp was an 8 out of 10, maybe Kipchoge is now a 9.9 or something, and Rupp is just a tick down from what he was before. But the rest of the world is still there. That's my point here. So he's going to have to be back into peak Rupp form to beat people like Kitata and Chirono and DeCisa. Because what is success for Rupp here? Is it a medal?
I mean, I think he wants gold, but I think he'll come back, be happy with a second or third.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if Kipchoge's beatable, right? We've seen it. He lost in London. Was it London or London? So, London. I mean, I don't think Kipchoge's going to lose. I think he'll put together a good race. But in that 5 to 10% chance Kipchoge is having that bad day, Rupp wants to be as prepared as possible to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I
have 25%. I have 25% chance to medal, but it sounds like you'd put him much higher.
Okay. So 25% chance to medal. Where do you have him finishing? If you're a gambler, where is he finishing?
Can I give you a range, or do I have to give you a number?
No, you can give me a number. I had to do a number. I had to pick. I picked second. What are you picking?
I would not rank. So there's a difference between ranking and where I would pick him. I would rank him lower. I would rank him to the back half. Well, no, because
what position is he going to finish?
I will pick him for 4th, but I would rank him lower than that. But I think because of the race conditions and the fact that it's a championship style race, I think that will help Galen Rupp. But I would pick him for 4th. So
4th is like, I want to call you a medal contender, but I don't want to do it. That 4th is where you put the people who you want to say you're good, but you don't actually want to say it.
Well, I think it's going to be Kipchoge, Chirono, and Kitata, top 3, and then I mean, I give you my whole 10 if you want.
Yeah,
I could go into like I legitimately think he's going to run 4th, and I think that's going to be a great result, all things considered. But because people are judging him on medal or bust, or if they're looking at gold or bust, they're not gonna give him the credit that's due. Like, this field is legit. Like I said, Chirono has done it all. He's won the tactical races. He's won the championship style races in Boston. And then he just got second in that ridiculously fast Valencia race where he ran 2:03 low. Like, the guy is solid. The guy could win the entire race. And then you got to count on Kipchoge to come through. So I'll put Rupp for 4th. I would not say his chances of winning are 0, or even I'd probably put it a couple ticks higher than that. Like, I think on the right day, if the things break for him, he could win this race. But more often than not, I think he'd be in that around that 4th place range.
Got a question about the marathon. Sarah Likes Penguins asks, What do you think of Caleb Hawkins' chances? He hasn't run much recently, but he ran super impressive for 4th in Doha.
Yeah, and we were there in Doha. Link and I were there in Doha watching that men's marathon, which was just a wild ride. And Hawkins puts it all out there. I mean, his PB's just 208. So I think it just depends on the race. And we're going to know halfway, maybe a little bit past halfway, maybe even before halfway, what type of race we're going to see. And if it's a weather is bad, the favorites are struggling type of race, I think Callum Hawkins can work his way in there into the top 10, maybe even into the top 5. But
I think
if it's a race that early on you can see, hey, the favorites are keeping the pace honest, they're whittling this thing down, but they're not going so fast that half the field is going to fall apart. It'll be tough for him because, as I mentioned before, there's so many people with 205 PBs here. Like we mentioned Bashir Abdi on here. I mean, dude ran 204.49 in Tokyo. Osbourne's run 204.16. Like there's just so many people who are capable of running sub 205, sub 206 that it's tough for people, like him, like you could talk about the other two Americans like Riley, like Abdi Abdurrahman to get some traction.
I think the major sleeper is Suguru Osaka, who's running in his home country, former NOP athlete. I think he's been running well in a lot of his marathons and his build up to go from the track to the marathon. I have him finishing, I think 5th or 6th on my rankings. I could see him being that surprise 3rd place finisher, the way Rupp was the surprise 3rd place finisher. And Japan will go nuts, right? If he got a medal because Japan loves distance running. It's one of their favorite pastimes. I mean, Japan's really good low key in the distance running, and I think he's like their big hope to try to take down the East Africans and Galen Rupp to try to medal. So I think Suguru Osaka is going to be that low key potential medalist.
I'm looking at previous Olympic marathons as a guide here. 2016, Kipchoge, Lalisa, Rupp. Makes sense. That one went to form at least with the medalist. But then you go back to 2012. I don't think anybody had Steven Kiprotich winning that thing. And then you had a lot of favorites fall off. You had a lot of DNFs in that field, right? You had nobody from Ethiopia in that race perform well at all. At all. I mean, that was what is their top finisher? Looking this up right now. Everybody DNF'd in 2012 from Ethiopia. All 3. They were 0 for 3 on getting people to the finish line in 2012. 2008, we all know Sammy Wanjiru in the heat. Little more chalk there with expected names. But then you go to 2004, that was the Meb Silver year, right? It was Baldini, Meb, and De Lima. It was Italy, US, Brazil top 3. Who had that as a top 3? It feels like about 50% of the time we get some unexpected results here, not just for gold, but also when you look at the whole medal picture. That was also the year when someone came onto the course and tackled De Lima in the latter miles, which no doubt hampered his ability to get across the line. But even still, it was not a top 3 that you would have forecasted going in. So is this going to be a 2016 year, or is this going to be a 2012 year? Is it going to be a 2008 type of year, or is it going to be a 2004 type of year? And where Hawkins and all these other people factor in is when it's a 2004 type year, or a 2012 year when everybody from Ethiopia drops out, doesn't finish the race.
And it's gonna be hot, so we're not gonna see 203.
Right.
We're not gonna see 204. So
and I'm not saying that that's what we're gonna see. I'm not saying, hey, he ran 203 and Valencia's gonna run 203 now. But what I mean is, are we gonna see a race where they run the equivalent type of time given the weather conditions, where the best people, the people with the most major wins and the people who have the better PRs are able to hold it together and control the race versus what we've seen in the past where things go completely haywire. Because it was ridiculously hot in Beijing in 2008, and Wanjiru still won. It wasn't the fastest time, in the world, but 2:06 in that heat, a lot of people think that's one of the best marathons ever, regardless of time, just because of the conditions. So the conditions can be bad, and the favorite can still win, is basically what I'm saying. Is it going to be one of those, or is it going to be a situation where everything gets thrown out, and by 30K, we're thinking, wait, one of these people's going to get the gold medal? Like, it's going to be Seguro Osako or Abdi Abdurrahman's going to be a gold medalist? What's going on? This is the craziest marathon ever.
Isn't it crazy that in 1904, 328 won the marathon at the Olympics?
Yeah.
347 was third.
I think about that all the time when I think about my career, and just like how it would have been different. All I needed to do would be born 100 years earlier.
Would be a great, movie, like a time trial movie, but it's athletics based. And so an athlete trains really hard, gets good, and then obviously can't compete well in the current day, so gets a time machine and goes back to early 1900s and just like wins Olympic medals and becomes like the GOAT of distance running because they're able to run like a 2:59 marathon, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're like the greatest of all time. And you just basically live like what it's like to be a GOAT in running.
Yeah.
Because
but
of
you
the
have
era
your
you're in.
fitness.
You have your fitness.
You have your 2020 fitness, but you're in 1920. Okay.
Exactly.
I like that. Although
He's
1920, I'm
dominated
looking it up. Hannes Kolmanian of Finland threw down in 2:32. It's pretty good.
Okay, so maybe you gotta go to 1904.
Well, there's a lot of people who can run 2:32 now. I'm saying me personally being as slow, I got to go way back. Someone asked in the chat, do you think Kipchoge will go for the Olympic record, which is the Wanjiru mark, 2:06.32? I don't think he cares at all about that. I think this is all about, you're going to see Kipchoge control this race, and you're going to see, because of who he is, people defer to Kipchoge, I think, in this race. And he is going to dictate when the moves are made. He's going to dictate how quick this pace goes, and he's going to run it in the way that he thinks is best for him. Could he accidentally get the Olympic record? 100% he could, because he could run 2:05 in horrible conditions. But will that be his focus? No, I do not believe so.